Welcome to the OMG podcast, brought to you by Onward Media Group. Join us as we explore storytelling with video, life as a startup, and community impact in Kitchener-Waterloo. We dive into industry trends, behind-the-scenes insights, and the challenges and successes of our journey. Whether you're a creative, entrepreneur, or just passionate about video and storytelling, we've got something for you. Now let's get into today's episode.
Hello and welcome. My name is Jordan Taylor. I'm the video program manager here at Onward Media Group. And today I have my esteemed guest here, Noah, with me. Noah, thank you so much for joining the show.
Thank you for having me. My neighbors at Catalyst.
Yes, exactly. So for those who may not be familiar with you, your work, who you are, what you do, give us a little backstory.
Yeah, so I'm in the, like how you guys are in the video storytelling. I'm in kind of that same market with, intentional, provocative, stimulating storytelling when it comes to marketing and brand execution. So I'm working in about 3 industries right now, 4 companies, and just, whether that be startups or whether that be established businesses, we're trying to determine, they picked me because I think they were at a vantage point of, where do they want to go? And whether that be a startup of just kind of facilitating where they want to go or an established business, I'm all about intentional storytelling. I think I like to go into a brand or a company and just kind of determine, where they are and where they want to go. I loosely say marketing, but there's so much. It's storytelling, it's brand strategy, it's execution. So there's so many things in this industry of marketing that we're in. But I like to explore that at every level of the companies I kind of take on.
That's awesome. One thing that pops up for me when I think marketing is there are, especially people who don't work in marketing or maybe don't think they work in marketing. What would you say is maybe some myths about marketing, like maybe what marketing is not? You might think it's this, but it's not.
I think people think marketing is just another cap to have on, right? I truly do think that if you want to be intentional with your content or you want to be intentional about what your brand is saying, that needs to be a singular person, and that needs to be a person that you kind of solely bring on the team. It's not just another hat to wear. And I think, with companies with budgets and wanting to save costs, they're like, oh, why don't we just get that person to do it over there who has 2 extra hours in the day? I just don't think that's intentional. And I don't think that's a proper way to communicate, who you are and what you're trying to do. So I think that's a myth, that it needs to be its own person or its own agency. It shouldn't just be thrown off to someone at the company.
Right. Because I think when you're kind of putting it all on one person or on like a very finite amount of their time, they're kind of handcuffed in a way of what they're actually able to kind of dig into and get into.
Yeah.
So with the industries that you said that you're working in, kind of what are those industries, and like what have you kind of learned about those industries that maybe you didn't know before?
Yeah, so it's very diverse, and I would say I'm in the wellness industry, I'm in the startup industry, and I'm in the racket sports industry. So what we're doing across all of those is with this one company called Life After Me. It's a startup, and they took on the rights for a digital will. So essentially it's disrupting kind of that long-standing market of, that relationship you would have with a lawyer or an estate lawyer. It's essentially, it's a digital service that you can have a living document in and essentially have that own relationship with your own personal documents. So on that front, it's all about, what strategic partners can we align ourselves with that can really set us up for success and trust. Because when you're trying to disrupt an industry that has so much trust and that has so much long standing, it's kind of tough to break into that. Another one we have right at Catalyst is called Rookie and Ace. They brought the first paddle court to Kitchener-Waterloo. Paddle is a sport kind of originated in Spain. So it's exciting to see, Kitchener-Waterloo get those advancements and get those kind of new sports and new things that build community, right? Like I think Kitchener-Waterloo is such a starting ground for these new concepts. So I'm glad I get to be a part of marketing that and bringing that to the community, because with that, people are kind of stuck on pickleball or tennis. They're not really willing to take on a new sport. So I think introducing them to the sport and allowing them to be like, hey, there's a third option. Like, you guys should really try this, has been super interesting. And then I'm also working with a psychotherapy firm. So
wow. So just a vast array of
how
things.
do you market therapists, right? And how do you, they all have stories to tell. So it's about identifying the niche and getting all of those personalities out there. So it's been super interesting because I've been using video storytelling with that, right? Whether that be interactive reels or just short form stuff, to really get that personality across, because, at the end of the day, they're all looking for clients and there's 30 therapists at the firm. So each one has to stick out on their own kind of avenue. So that's been super interesting.
So I would imagine, like, because that's, like we're saying, that's a nice array of different industries that you're in. So how do you kind of go about learning more about the industry in order to be able to market not only the industry itself, but the particular client that you're working with? Like, how do you go about diving deep into it? Like, what does that process look like for you?
I think for me, in my own lane as an individual right now in the field, I'm also kind of disrupting that marketing agency, right? Where, a company will kind of just offload everything to an agency that usually is not, it's ingenuine, it's quick, it's fast, and they just want to post. I think for me, what I've done is I've established a rapport with all of my founders and all my CEOs where, we have weekly touch points. We have a relationship. So when I know them and I know what they want to communicate, I can do that on socials, and I can do that when it comes to brand strategy, right? At the end of the day, we have to appease to the people who kind of created these brands, right? And if you don't know that person, you're never going to get the message right. So me being an individual and allowing myself to have a rapport with all these people has allowed me to understand the business and allowed me to understand how they want to operate in a sense of marketing or how they want to market themselves, right? So I think those long-standing kind of relationships and essentially collaboration has helped me fueled success for these businesses.
Wow. It's so fascinating, like learning, like hearing about marketing from like the inside, right? Because I think we all see the byproducts of marketing, right? Like we see advertising campaigns, right? Like when you were talking about, how do we market therapy, right? Like I see the.
Can you tell me how? How do you do it?
Right? Well, even like I think I see commercials for therapy providers a lot. And what's interesting, and I think it would be cool to get your thoughts on this, of like how the idea of, say you want to make a commercial for something, right? That it's not just about here's what we do, here's what we offer, but more here's a picture of kind of the world that we live in. Right. So if I think of like to mention one in particular that pops into my head, like BetterHelp, right? Seeing the advertisements for that, right? As kind of, it's not just we provide therapy services, here's the details about it, so on and so forth. There is storytelling in those campaigns that, you might see as an end user, right? But there's a storytelling element in there.
Yeah, and I think, we just did a commercial for my client Life After Me. And one thing that we did is we brought in families, young families, old families, like every sort of family dynamic you could think of. And we kind of, not that we set them up, but we posed 3 questions. It would be 2 kind of soft feeler stuff about what they know about, the partner or the family member. And then the 3rd question would be, do you know your partner's like last wishes? Right? So they would know what their partner's favorite color and favorite food is, but they've never talked about the will, right? So that kind of shock factor and that them being unable to answer that question then kind of set up the product to be like, wouldn't this interactive digital platform help you guys kind of streamline communication and have all of your documents in this portal that both of you can access? So I think on that front, like when you bring real people, when you bring real stories, and it's not just like the sulking kind of commercial like that I feel like most people in the industry do, whether that be therapy or when it comes to wills, you can change the conversation because not everything needs to have an undertone of darkness, right? Like you can have fun with it while, of course, respecting those boundaries.
Right. Kind of playing with the, like, grounding it in the real. And sometimes the real can feel a little heavier, but then also there's a lot of light and
totally
and playfulness in that realm as well. Right.
And I think with me being, not that I just started out, but I think, with the budgets I work with, I'm not working with multi-million-dollar budgets, right? So I'm forced to, work with what I know, work with who I know, and ideate, right? So I think it's a blessing in disguise because, you're forced to kind of work in the environment that you're in, right? So it's been great on that front.
That's amazing. What are some of the marketing, either specific campaigns or like just ideas that like kind of keep you inspired to be able to continue to ideate and have like a place to pull from? So if you're working with a client and they're like, well, we don't know how we want to market this.
Yeah.
How do you kind of come up with either the ideas or how do you kind of keep that inspiration to be able to come up with those ideas?
I think initially when I'm onboarding with the company, I kind of do an audit. I'm like, okay, where are you? Like, what do you look like now? What's the potential of where you can go? And I kind of create this 10 slide deck of, kind of colors I feel that align with the brand, specific wording that I think, we need to kind of resonate with the brand. And it has so much to do with SEO and stuff like that, but that's very intricate. But I just mean, when I present that audit, I'm kind of presenting of how an outsider looks at your company. And now I want to come in on the inside and help you out. So that first conversation's all about color identity, those key buzzwords, those what demographic do you want in, right? And that all kind of then works our way into the model shoots, the how we're gonna design merch or something. With Rookie and Ace, they're essentially a kids facility, right? Like you wouldn't, I don't think, know off the bat, but it's a facility for 2 to 11-year-olds to breed child athletes. But they also want to explore young adults and parents and stuff like that, right? Because it goes hand in hand. So it's like, how do you cater to kids, but then also market this as a place that, parents or young adults or 20-year-olds who want to come have fun, right? We did something called Rackets and Rosé, where we kind of we paired with a strategic partner, Babylon Sisters, and we had racket programming, and then someone from Babylon would come in and do kind of like a wine tasting. So stuff like that, events like that, then tell you, hey, Rookie and Ace is for kids, but we're also doing fun, hip stuff that include alcohol or for parents and young adults, right? So like I think a brand can do whatever it wants. It just has to set them up, have an open mind, and set yourself up for success in the environments you want to exist in.
So there's a level of intentionality that needs to be there.
Totally. It's very intentional, and I think in the community we live in, strategic partners are so important, and who you align yourself with in the beginning can have massive effects for the business. Us being in Catalyst, we've partnered with Graffiti Market, we've partnered with Stockyards. Like we've done food vendor events with them. Living in Belmont Village, right? Great businesses around here. So leveraging that to kind of prop up our business has been key in the initial front.
It's so fascinating to me. So a little bit of background. So I started here at Onward a couple years ago, but I live in downtown Toronto. Okay. So I often come here, once or 2 or 3 times a week, depending on kind of what we're doing with filming with different clients, having client meetings, things like that. And one thing that is so abundantly clear is that not only the companies, but just the individuals, the people who thrive in this community have a very strong sense of community and of partnering, not only to uplift others in the community, but also to uplift their brands, their businesses.
Yeah.
And it seems like that's something that is very prevalent in those who are successful within this community. What's your kind of
do you feel that in Toronto?
in certain community spaces, yes, but it's not as palpable as it is here. And I don't know if it's the
Largeness of the city.
the largeness of the city, if it's I'm not sure what it is, but it's something that I really like about the community here is that there is it's a staple, like the idea of community and pouring into the community, like not only through like places like United Way, we've done work with them and like in that sense, but also partnering with your neighbors to, for example, like a graffiti market where, working with a food vendor or whatever it may be, but making those connections seems like a very intentional and very present ideology here that I think is amazing and fascinating and obviously has both short-term and long-term impacts. And it seems like that's something that you're noticing too with the people you're working with.
And I've noticed it with this business in particular. Like, I don't know if maybe you can speak to this because, you've been in the Catalyst longer, but I really do. When I come into this building every day, not every day, I'm not here every day, but there's a spark you feel. And I think there's innovation in, I don't know if it's cliche to say, but it's like there is such a spark here. And I think people here, whether it be in the Catalyst or greater community, is that everyone wants to be aligned or help out or partner to do something cool. Yeah. So what have you felt in terms of Onward's perspective in that sense?
I think when we originally started, there were a good number, if not almost all of our clients were other people in the building, right? Mm-hmm. So being able to capture their story and then amplify it to more people, which then in turn connects people in the building with other people in the building.
Yeah.
And it's this kind of self-serving, but every self here, like one hand washing the other, and it just multiplies. So there was so much of that in the beginning, and there's still a lot of it today, while still obviously trying to expand into like not only just the building, but finding other similar hubs within our community, right? And even within other adjacent communities, and even expanding into Toronto and see what would be a space that's like this in another market. And if there isn't one, okay, maybe partnering with the people who put Catalyst together and seeing how can we bring this sense of community and this impact to other people, and then what would our role as the storytellers be in that. So I think that's like a thing that we've really been trying to think about, like what part we
have you been to the Well?
I have, yes.
I
very early on.
I was thinking about that just the other day, and like if people don't know, the Well is like an unprecedented space in Toronto, mixing food, mixing business, ideation, brand partnerships. It's kind of this indoor outdoor sort of.
It's very unique.
I don't want to call it a mall. Is it
I don't know what you would call that. It's like a mall meets a modern looking village. Like it's almost like when you think of like an older city's downtown, right? Where there's like a strip and there's a bunch of businesses. There's a park in there. There's
great pop-ups.
Yeah.
So I'm very familiar with the brand partnerships team because there was kind of talks to do something that's not happening anymore. But just the team at the Well are doing crazy things that I think are very aligned with kind of the ideation at Catalyst, where they're looking to partner with everyone. They're small, medium, large, like they're doing amazing things for the city. And I think creating, there was a void in Toronto where, you had kind of these groups of community, but it was inconsistent. Correct. I think the Well is bringing stuff together, whether they do salsa in the yards or whether they do, they have Sweat and Tonic there. So I think it's a place that caters to a lot of people. Yeah. And I think in Toronto, you need something like that because it can feel very empty, even though it's so big and so populated. You need those spaces that can bring in a lot of people. And I think, the Catalyst is doing an amazing job of that in Kitchener-Waterloo.
Yeah, I didn't even make the comparison between the two spaces, but they are quite similar in terms of the impact that they have on community, both like on a personal level. Like I know the Well has the time I went there, they had a ice skating rink, like just off to the side, and then right beside that you can go get a slice of pizza, and there's so many things. My question to you: why marketing? What drives you in the space of marketing?
It's one of those industries that have no rules. Like, I feel like I enter it every day and there's something new. And when you build that rapport and you build that relationship with the client or the business, they give you a lot of reins, right? So I think having that autonomy and having that kind of leading voice that they can trust on where to take the business is super gratifying. I can wake up one day, have an idea, pitch it, and they're like, yeah, let's do it. So I think having that instilled trust with the people I work with is so gratifying because, one of the things that haunted me was that, I would work a 9-to-5 or I would be in a big corporation and my big voice would kind of be lessened in a way, right? But when you're in a kind of an organization of 300 people, you're working as a team to accomplish a goal. Yeah. I think for me, my goal and what I want to accomplish is very singular. It's very one-on-one. So I feel like I can really strive in this industry because it allows me to create multiple relationships and essentially do the same thing to a lot of those companies. And right now I'm in contract negotiations for 2 other companies, and I've told myself that I can be intentional with 5 because I think right now my time plate is it's flexible. So 5 is where I cut it in terms of kind of those contract terms with companies.
Because do you think beyond 5, the upholding the trust factor could get either compromised or could get tricky to do?
Yes, because right now I've pitched me. I think if I ever go above 5, it's me outsourcing a couple of those things, and like outsourcing some of those deliverables. I like to be the main point of contact, but I think if I ever want to scale and I ever want to grow, I think I maybe have to take some of those steps. I'm just not there yet because I'm enjoying the relationships I'm curating. I'm enjoying the spaces I get to be in, and I'm good in Kitchener-Waterloo right now. I think I would like to move myself, closer to Toronto and establish a base, like going out there. But I'm happy in KW right now, and I'm happy of, kind of the spark in the city right now. So I'm trying to leverage that right now.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think like it sounds like you're thriving. The clients that you're helping are thriving as well.
Hopefully.
So, right. So it sounds like it's working.
You may need to ask them after this, like maybe get some like post
right
podcast testimonials. Like, is he doing a good job?
It's like, what was he capturing your vision?
Yeah. Like, is he saying things?
Right. How did you get into the world of marketing? And was it something that you planned to get into? Did you stumble into it? Was it something kind of in between?
So funny, but not funny story. My sister was starting a business, a Botox business.
Okay.
And some would say it's a saturated market, right? Like you really have to find your niche and stand out. I helped her with some of the brand ideation and I helped her with some concepts. And people saw my work. So that was how I kind of got the first client. And then it leveraged into just like, this is the world of referrals, right? So, yeah. And this is the world of, do good work, and you'll be appreciated. So I think, I was doing good work. I was proud of the stuff I was doing, and other people were noticing. I'm also a member, or I was a member at Greystone Racket Club, which recently shut down. But I think that was a hub of business leaders and CEOs, and I got FaceTime with a lot of them. So I think I was able to just leverage the work I did for a family member, and that rolled into other clients. And then I was at Western for marketing and consulting. So that was kind of how that seed kind of got planted. But then I kind of took that step to be like, let me not do corporate at first. Let me see if I can make it on my own. And here we are.
Right.
So it's just taking that first step.
So it sounds like you did have an interest in it, but then it was that taking action and actually kind of putting your hands in the clay to start playing around with it that really made the tangible difference.
Yeah. And I think also realizing, we are in a relationship economy, right? It's about who you know, who is willing to vouch for you, and leveraging the people around you. Like I if I were to say to anyone, like, don't take your relationships for granted, because you never know where a door can lead you. And I think we overlook that sometimes. So if you do something good, if you do good work, someone will vouch for you and someone will have your name on the tip of their tongue, right? So what I say to everyone is, behave yourself, because you never know in Kitchener-Waterloo who the next person knows. Like, I feel like we're such a small community here that, a lot of people know people. So do good work, be intentional about what you do. And that's how you get started in this sort of industry.
So the one thing that we've been trying to navigate is, I guess, our relationship with marketing.
Yeah.
Like ourselves, of how do we, as storytellers, right? How do we tell our story? How do we market ourselves? So this has been an interesting thing where time management is definitely a thing, right? And I'm sure you can relate to this also, with having those 3 clients and potentially 2 more coming that have instilled the level and trust in you to be able to get them, whether it's deliverables, be there, nurture that relationship. We're in a similar boat, right? Where we've got a good size handful of clients that have instilled their trust in us, while also still wanting the opportunity to grow and thrive and be able to nurture even more relationships with more people. And part of that is being able to tell our story and market ourselves. And it's been an interesting dance, right? We're even like taking something like this podcast, right? This is a way for us to create a platform for ourselves, and not only with the aesthetic of it, but then also just what's the substance of it.
And
right?
highlight personality, right? Like, people need to know who you are. People need to know who Darren is, right? And Cassio, the man behind the camera, right? Like, you guys are our Onward Media Group. So I think this is so important.
Yeah, it's so we've been, like I said, we've been doing the podcast, which we have on the podcast streaming platforms. Subscribe, follow, do all the things.
Like,
yes, exactly. YouTube, and getting also into the digestible stuff like the Instagram, the LinkedIn. I feel like I'm aging myself by putting the in front of any platform name, but it's been an interesting thing where, again, we're very immersed in the product that we are creating for our clients, that we're having to like dedicate time to be able to offer that same thing to ourselves.
Yeah.
And it's an interesting dance. So I'm curious to hear like your thoughts on it. If you have experienced clients who have kind of been in a similar position, or if you felt in a similar position.
Well, Onward presents this very interesting case, because you guys create, and I've like stalked you guys immensely. You guys create such beautiful visuals, right? Like, you guys are essentially creating the content, because any client work you do is a portfolio for yourselves, right?
Right.
But then you kind of have that discussion of, we go back, marketing isn't just another hat to put on, right? So just posting that is not going to necessarily do everything you want it to do. It's how do you market your own content, because you guys have a vast portfolio, but it's leveraging it in a way, whether that be B2B on LinkedIn, whether that be more of a fun personal side on something like Instagram. That's like, I feel like you guys are in such an interesting spot because like you must have so much content on your hand.
We have a ridiculous amount of content.
And it's like, are you guys like, what do you do with it in a way, or what's the conversation happening right now?
So right now, actually, it's funny. We were just talking about this the other day of trying to come up with or starting with a relatively low barrier to entry formula that we can do to be able to dedicate time. So like each week, putting a meeting at the top of the week and say, okay, we're going to dedicate an hour to planning how we're going to tell our story via marketing, social media, all the things for this week, whether that be, a podcast episode, whether it be, hey, here's some really cool imagery from the work we've been doing this week. Have a look, or something a little bit more fun, off the cuff, behind the scenes, but dedicating time at the top of the week to say, how are we going to be intentional with this? Yes, we're busy. Yes, we have a lot of client work that we really love just pouring ourselves into, but also we want to dedicate some time to be able to do that for ourselves. And we're in the stage right now where like you said, there are no rules. We can kind of do whatever we want. We can try different things and say, okay, this week we're going to try this. And then next week, oh, how did that work? What was the response to it? Did people have follow-up questions about it? Or was there a weird response to it? Like whatever it is.
Or did it translate into an ROI? You know what I mean? Like did it translate into a conversion? And I think, one conversation I have with every business is kind of discussing the concept of, the call to action versus the click to outcome. So, if we were to just use Onward as a case study, Onward's call to action, and I'll use something that I saw. Onward Media Group just revamped their podcast studio. In the month of July, we're going to offer 50% off, right? Was that kind of what?
I think it was something along those lines.
So that's a call to action, because that is, it's a sense of urgency. You're putting a timeline on it, and you want people kind of to act fast to celebrate this moment, right? In kind of Onward's group. Your click to outcome is Onward creating a podcast community where kind of people of Onward's community get access to 2 podcast sessions a month. You get insider tips from the amazing brains at Onward, and you kind of create that long conversion. Instead of just limiting people to 1 month, you're like, and the click to outcome is community, right? It's creating a longer conversion. So, they're with you from July to next July, and you can incentivize a price that kind of gets a lot of people in to do podcast sessions, right? It would have to be a model that, of course, works for Onward, but a click to outcome is all about creating community and longevity in the conversion. And that's what I tell all my businesses is like, do you need immediate action, or does your brand want to create community? Does your brand want to create a newsletter that has 1,000 subscriptions to it, right? So I think after we kind of get to that point of where you want to go as a business, immediate or kind of that community model, I can then kind of trigger a lot of things that I can set things up for success in that way.
What's your response when clients say that they want both of those things? They want immediate action because say there is a launch of something new, right? That they want to be a successful launch and they want it to, get off the ground, while also creating a prolonged sense of trust between the client and whoever their customer base is.
I think, I operate in the click to outcome world, but I think call to actions are still prevalent in today's kind of world. I would say use a call to action when it's aligned with the milestone. So your milestone was you guys revamped your podcast studio. Bam. That's you want people in, right? Onward Media did something about coming in for free headshots. Bam. That's amazing kind of in-person exposure, right? So align your call to actions with big company milestones. Leave the click to outcomes to programming and stuff where you can have people involved for like a year plus, right? Whether that be some sort of subscription service or some sort of community or some sort of monthly meetup that aligns with the brand. I think that creates a deeper sense of trust and loyalty.
This is interesting. I don't know if we've thought about, well, I know for me personally, I'd never heard the term click to outcome before.
Okay.
Definitely heard call to action.
Yeah.
Heard it a bunch. Never heard of click to outcome before. Where does that like come from?
Well, like, when you see online, so sign up now.
Yeah.
That's a call to action.
Yeah.
Join our community. That's a click to outcome because
Interesting.
when I say click to outcome, it's in the context of creating a number of outcomes in one conversion, right? So being able to kind of get someone into the business, but them using your business for multiple things, right? You think of Rookie and Ace's click to outcome is having the kid in for a birthday party, but then essentially the dad comes in for paddles and pints. We did an event with Abe and Herb. The mom comes in for rackets and rosé. So you end up getting a lot more out of kind of that interaction because like the urgency isn't there. It's like, we want you to live in our company. Like we want you to breathe, sleep, and eat Rookie and Ace, right? So use our facility for whatever you need. And we want to kind of extend that relationship with you.
So how does the, whether it's the specific campaign or maybe I'll stick to campaign. So how does the campaign differ in terms of ideation, strategy and execution and implementation, I guess, when you're click to outcome focused as opposed to call to action?
I think if businesses want to explore the latter, the click to outcome, it's a long process because it can only happen when you have a foundation, right? A call to action is great for a new business because they can do a million giveaways. They can do all these things to draw in people, right? Mm-hmm. But they're interactions that last 24 hours, right? With what I'm doing with my clients right now is I want to extend that relationship to more than one interaction, to more than one session, to more than just like one kind of walk into the space. Like I want, like what's on my head nowadays is how can we turn your first visit into 15 more, right? Mm-hmm. So all I say to myself is extend the relationship because I think it's important, right? Subscription models are so hot right now. Yeah. And I think people are looking for their third space, right? Yeah. You have work, you have home, but where do you go to have fun? Where do you go to relieve stress? So I think leverage the fact that, we're still recovering from 2020, 2021, and people are hungry and people are looking for something new. So don't discredit someone because there is opportunity to kind of get people in and get people to stay.
Yeah, and I think that is how you kind of naturally get into those growth conversations too, right? Whereas, if you have clients that are, your relationship with them is a little bit more transactional, right? That's one thing. But then if you're wanting to expand, like, when you were mentioning like expanding into other markets, Toronto, wherever it is, and being able to organically grow without, outsourcing certain things, also feeling transactional. If there's a sense of like, okay, we have long-term relationships with our client base and we're looking for more long-term relationships with people to help continue that on a wider scale, that's where it kind of all flows into a similar ecosystem.
Yeah, it's and really it's going to be a case by case study, right? Like what one business needs necessarily doesn't mean that's what the other people want. And I think, because we're at Onward, I think I have all these ideas flowing right now, but I think it's an interesting conversation, and I think what I say to CEOs and what I say to founders listening today is have an open mind when you're having that conversation with someone you hire, right? Like have an open mind to see where your business can go and what other avenues it can explore.
And then talking on the CEOs and founders, do you find that your conversations with those decision makers in a business vary or differ greatly from, say, someone who's just tasked with creating a marketing campaign, or the social media manager and they're looking for some help?
Do you mean just the relationship, like the rapport I try to create with those people, or in what sense do you mean? Like
when you're nurturing those relationships, like the way in which you do that, or the conversations that you have like with those two sets of people?
Those relationships start off as like, I want to get to know you. Like why did you start this business? I think like they're started from a place of curiosity, because I think it's so cool when someone starts their own business and is able to, rent out a 9,000 square foot space in Catalyst. Like that's so interesting to me. And I want to know like the who, what, when, where, how, right? Like I'm not going to be able to communicate a message unless I know you and the brand. So let me in, and then give me 24 hours and I'm going to come back to you with all these crazy ideas, and let's find out where you sit on a scale of open-minded to this is what I want you to do. Some people have just been like, hey, I need you to do this, and then go. I'll do that. But I want to have those conversations, and I want to have that opportunity to ideate, right? Like that's why I come on, because I market myself as stimulating, provocative, and intentional storytelling, right? So let's have fun.
Yeah. No, I love that so much. And the hearing you talk about like, okay, give me 24 hours, I will have a whole laundry list of ideas. Has there been an idea that you've had for one of your clients that you've had where like, if we can do this, this is going to be so amazing, that either for whatever reason just hasn't happened, but like you would love to make happen? Is there one that stands out for you?
There is actually one that's going to happen in November, and I had to push just because it's so, not that it's out there, but it's a whole new demographic for the business. And I don't know when this is coming out. I don't think it's not that important, but we're doing like we're trying to segment ourselves. We've done the kids, we've done the adults, and now we want to do 25 to 40. And we're doing a series of these like racket and single events. So getting singles in and doing kind of community events based on just like the fact that, we're in Q4, we're in cuffing season, and capitalize on the single people just like trying to have fun and try a new sport. And so it's super interesting. And we have some really killer partners that we're doing it with in the community. So I think it's going to be a hit, but it's something I had to like push on, because like I was a 23-year-old just like pitching this to be like, hey, I think we need this. And sometimes you have that kind of Gen Z, I don't know what like the next two up is, like millennial,
Gen X.
Yeah. Like I think sometimes there can be a disconnect. So it's just about, again, instilling that trust and being like, I wouldn't say this unless I thought it would be valuable for you in the company.
Do you find like that's like a hurdle often for you, like dealing with like I feel like millennials, I think as a millennial, I feel like we're pretty flexible, but Gen X, it really depends on the person.
Yeah, I don't know. I think everyone says I give off like very old soul-ish energy. So I think I'm able to kind of say things that can make people feel comfortable and present things in a way that's palatable, because at the end of the day, like, I don't know am I like a Gen Z? I don't really know, but I think I am, right?
I think
I don't know, but I think sometimes there's a disconnect, right? So it's all about kind of kind of gap, like lessening that gap and being able to have conversations that are able to present things in a way that's palatable.
And connecting with people's individual like priorities too,
Yeah.
right? Like showing that, like, you know, regardless of whether my age starts with a 2, 3, 4, or 7, I'm hearing what you're saying and I'm connecting my ideas back to what you've said. I'm
Totally.
not just
And I think
running off of my own idea.
Yeah. And you know what? There are people killing it and they're 18, 19, 20. So I think to everyone who's just starting out and who needs to solidify their voice, you will not be doubted if you come in with the good work, right?
Yeah.
Like, let your work show. And I think my work has shown. So I've been able to I haven't really been in those conversations, but to anyone who's starting out, I think it's lead with your work, like lead with your craft, and people won't doubt you, right? Because they see hard proof of what you're doing and what you're doing to kind of pave out a life for yourself.
So if there's, you know, any potential future clients for yourself listening to this right now, if they want to delve more into just the idea of marketing, whether they know exactly what they want to do or not, what would you say is like either an exercise or a thought experiment or whatever it might be that they can get into to help them be able to think about marketing as beyond just advertising?
Well, I think it needs a very deep self-reflection. Like if you are a business owner right now and you're kind of thinking to yourself, like, what do I need? Like, I would really kind of just close my eyes and be like, what are the 3 things that are kind of not pummeling the business, but like what, like every business owner knows their potential and they started their business because they saw potential. So if people aren't, if that message isn't translating, I think leave it to the marketer to figure out why, but it's your job to have that hard kind of conversation with yourself to be like, hey, I really need this. I really need this. And I started this because I saw the potential, right? So have that self-reflection and it's a hard conversation, right? Because I think a lot of people, they see marketing dollars as kind of like not fake, but it's hard to grasp, right? Because sometimes you don't see the ROI, right? Sometimes it just doesn't happen. Hasn't happened with me yet, but
right.
But you know, it's a hard truth, and I think whoever you bring on the team in that capacity, it's a new perspective, and I think take it because this industry is so interesting, and there's a lot of things that, you know, whether that be recruiting Onward to do something in the video storytelling, and then using someone like me to leverage that work and get it out there, you know, that's a dream team. And I think something like that is very interesting for brands to explore.
Yeah, definitely. It sounds like it's more than just the marketing material, the marketing collateral. There's it's a journey of like self-reflection, like you said.
And don't get me wrong, like I can sit at the computer for 3 hours and hash out things on Adobe, on Illustrator, whatever. I'm fine to do that, and it's part of the gig. But I think it's complementing services like Onward that kind of propel that content and then allow people like me to actually place that content in the right eyes, right? Whether that be aligning stuff with SEO or using Google Analytics to kind of leverage the business in a proper way. Like there are so many facets I think that businesses aren't kind of touching on. And it's multi-layered. It's not just posting, right? There's so much that I think a lot of people don't communicate, but it's important work.
Yeah, and there even just as you're saying that, I'm thinking of all the different channels there are now, even more than, and there's more and more being created every day. And then obviously depending on the space that you're in, different channels make more sense than others for different industries, different target demographics, and all of that. So it's definitely easy to get lost in the minutia of it all. There's
Totally.
there's a lot, but I think it's great to have people like you who understand kind of the micro and the macro of like, okay, this works on this particular channel, but also this aligns with what ultimately matters to your brand and your business.
Yeah.
You know, that there's this dance that's kind of happening.
Yeah, I like that. I like how you said that.
Yeah, wicked. The another thing I know you wanted to get into some of this goat prompting a little bit. Do you want to talk about it like a little bit, kind of where this idea came from? Because you presented it to us today, and
So
we were really interested.
So Goat Talk by Complex, it's this bit I love on a podcast I love. Like, I feel it's so, like, you know, we're on a podcast, but we both love our own podcast, right? It's interesting.
Yeah.
So Goat Talk is essentially goats coming together and in like goats in their field, and they talk about, you know, the goats to them, like what they like and the sectors that they like. And it's a lot of rappers that are on that segment. But I've curated some questions in kind of like the marketing, branding scene that I think you and I can maybe touch on and just have some fun at Onward.
Yeah. I love it.
Okay, should I pick the first one?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
We've never done this before.
So Onward, here we go. Made by Westmount Signs. They're killing it.
Shout out to them.
Okay, this is a kind of a crazy one to start off, but goat relationship advice, business or personal.
Ooh. Okay. This is going to be personal to me. Goat relationship advice. It's in the realm of like professional career.
Yeah.
I guess a trainer that I used to work with at my previous job, like trainer, would train you how to use the different softwares where I used to work, and I wanted to become a trainer, and he let me know, you know, it's not about just doing being qualified to teach the stuff. It's about becoming the go-to person that everyone is going to go to if they have any kind of question about that thing. And it's more about the relationship than it is about technical knowledge.
I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So let me pick one of these here. Okay. This is going to be a good one. And I'm glad that it went to you.
I'm scared.
So, goat, kitchen or business, non-restaurant.
Goat, kitchen or business, non-restaurant.
Yes.
I'm not going to pick any of my own. I would say Den. Have you heard of Den 1880?
Yes. We did an event there not too long
They,
ago.
like, Courtney, someone who kind of helped prep that space, kind of gave me a tour when it was in kind of its opening mode, and they're doing killer things. Like, it's a co-working space, and they have a beautiful kitchen and a lot of great, again, startups and businesses in on Herb Street, and it's something I appreciate.
The back room area, it has this cool like old school reference library with the lamps.
Yeah,
I thought
it's
really cool.
It's just curated to the T, and I recommend anyone to go in there and just for a tour, because it's unique. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's really nice there.
Okay, you ready?
Yes. Let's do the next one.
Okay, I don't know. It's Goat Kitchener Restaurant. Are you familiar?
I'm a little familiar. I'm trying to think of there's an obvious one that's coming up in my head, and it's Graffiti Market. It's also in the building. But it was because it was the first, I think it was like the first Kitchener meal that I had. It was like my first day here, and I went there and I had one of the pizzas, which was huge and delicious. And it was so good.
What's your Goat Toronto restaurant?
Oh, that's a tough one. Okay, where have I gone to the most?
But like, you're not gonna pick something basic, right? Like,
I hope not. Oh my gosh. Actually, okay. I'm gonna go to one of the most recent ones I've been to. It's called, oh my gosh, what is it called? Lila.
Okay.
And it's like this bougie-ish kind of looking place that makes you feel like $1 billion when you go in there.
Okay.
But it's also rooted in a very humble community as well. So it's like you feel like you're like, oh, I'm in a community space, but I just feel like $1 million.
I was just at Martine's, and that's my reco to you.
Okay.
It was amazing in Little Italy.
Okay, I'll check it out. That's not far from me.
Okay, you're up.
Okay, let's do this next. Okay, goat coffee order.
Goat coffee order, like just like Americano, I think.
Yeah?
Yeah, is that that's my go. What's your go?
Vanilla cold brew.
Here?
Just anywhere.
Anywhere?
Any kind of like I get cold brew. It could be freezing outside and I still get a cold brew.
Okay.
And I love the vanilla flavor.
Okay, goat basketball player.
Oh, I'm so bad at sports.
This was one for Darren because like he was in that world, right?
Yeah, he's definitely.
I stalked him on LinkedIn, so I kind of knew he was with the University of Waterloo for a bit.
Yeah,
filming that.
Yeah, so he knows about it. Is it weird if I say Darren?
No, say it.
Okay.
Oh, Darren as a basketball player. Okay, yeah, that's good.
Because I know him in real life, so I'm gonna go with that.
Okay.
and obviously all the other greats as well. This is gonna be such a good one for you. Okay, goat brand.
Goat brand.
That's a big question. It's a big question.
Have you heard of New York or Nowhere?
No.
They're you won't know unless you look them up, but like they're doing just like their type font and their clothing and like very lifestyle brand. But it's like I think New York and Toronto, they have like some very specific, unique apparel shops.
Yeah.
And the people behind them are killing them. So New York or Nowhere, I recommend everybody to look them up. They're sick.
I'm gonna have to look that up.
Okay, I think we have two more. Okay, go Onward. Oh, I'm glad you got this. Go Onward Media Video Group video. So best
Like a video that we've done.
Go video you guys have done.
I'm gonna ask Cassio off camera. What's been your favorite video that we've done? We've done a lot, but
Say maybe the United Way video,
the United Way video,
the golf, and also the one that they used on
that they played on the screen.
Yeah.
So providing a little context, we've done a few projects with United Way.
Okay.
Now, and the one Cassio is talking about, we captured their golf event. So we created a few different like recap pieces, and things like that the footage came out really, really, really nice. VLRC, Vision Loss Rehab Canada, is another client that we've been working with. The one
that was the piano work, right?
Yes.
That was killer.
Yeah, Cassio got some really great shots
that was awesome.
of that too. But yeah, there was that storytelling one where it was a very cinematic, very beautiful music, crescendos happening, and it was a really great video to work on. Also, all three of us like had our hand in crafting that video as well too. So I think that there's something to say about that.
Okay. Yeah.
Sweet. Okay, and then one more, I think.
Yeah.
This could either be from or to, but it's GOAT CEO advice.
See, that was for Darren too, because I was that was okay. Go. Okay, actually, can you answer this first? GOAT advice Darren has given you.
GOAT advice Darren has given me. That's a good question. Hopefully I do it justice.
I know I just turned it back on him, but
yeah, no. Always kind of coming back to like just kind of like refocusing a little. Like I think especially in the industry that we're in, we're a bunch of creatives that all work together, and we have so many ideas flowing through our heads all the time. So bringing it back into, okay, what are we trying to do? Either what story are we trying to tell? What goal are we trying to accomplish? What hurdle are we trying to get past? And then just kind of bringing it back in and kind of keeping that focus, and then having the creative energy align with that.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
I like that.
Yeah.
I think one for me is I'm not a CEO, but I I guess I am in a way, but he's like he's more legit. I think for me, one thing I've really kind of honed into is being able to pivot the no, right? So when someone gives you a no, I don't believe that's where the conversation ends. I think there is a compromise snuck behind there where you can present something maybe a little less extreme or a little less a little more palatable on their side. But you know, if the mentality is to close the deal, I never take the first no. And when I get the no, and if I get a no, I present something that's a little more appealing, because I think just closing the deal and maybe sacrificing something is less of a hurt than closing that or burning that bridge altogether.
Wow. That's powerful.
Last one?
Yeah.
Okay. Go marketing campaign.
Like ever?
Ever.
Oh my gosh, there's so many. Maybe actually I used to find it really funny. It's the one that's sticking out in my head because there's so many marketing campaigns. But the PC versus Mac. I don't know if you ever saw those. It was
Those are a while back, right?
Little bit. I'm definitely aging myself a little bit. I don't know if Cassie remembers the PC versus Mac commercials from back in the day, but it was like solid white background like this. You'd have one guy dressed like kind of like really cool, like really like almost like hipster-ish a little bit. Then the other guy was like very much like plaid shirt tucked into the slacks, big glasses, like it was supposed to be, it kind of was supposed to be like Steve Jobs versus Bill Gates, but it was PC versus Mac. And there was like, there was this really like very comedic dynamic back and forth, but it kind of like, it positioned at the time, I felt it positioned Apple as like, we're young, we're unique, we're different. We're our own person. We're not trying to kind of follow the status quo of we make computers and computers need to do this. It was, we're creating, like we're bringing life and the human experience into personal computing as opposed to what they felt everyone else was doing at the time.
Yeah.
It was just,
I remember those. Well, I think I looked them up, but
it'd be like that sometimes.
Yeah. those are awesome.
Yeah. What about you?
I think one that recently has caught my eye is, and the reason I just say this is because I think it speaks so perfect to brand essence is everything that Lincoln and Matthew McConaughey do. I think it's such an alignment on brand and what Lincoln wants to communicate. They want to communicate that they are for the chic executive and for just classic, seamless. And I think Matthew McConaughey really he communicates that for them and is an amazing brand ambassador. So I see a lot of alignment between that partnership, and I think that's important, right? Like, don't hire a random celebrity to talk about your brand. Hire someone who has that kind of essence already, and they do a really great job together. Yeah,
because you can feel it when it's just let's get a famous person in there.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, this has been great. I love this game, if we can call it that.
Yeah.
I definitely
love
want
a
to
good
do it
game.
again.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it definitely keeps things light and fun and interesting. Definitely want to do this again. Noah, thank you so much for taking
Thank
the
you
time.
so much.
Is there anything else you want to leave the people with?
No, I think, thank you guys for having me on, and I think what we're doing in the industry and, Onward, like I'm truly in awe of the kind of the work that you guys are doing, and it's an honor to be on the podcast. So I appreciate the conversation, and I'm looking forward to kind of, what work we can do together maybe in the future, and other partnerships that you guys are about to create. So yeah, thank you guys so much.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you so much. You want to let the people know where they can find you and where they can contact you if they're curious.
So my name's Noah. Oh, they knew that. And kind of my digital portfolio is on Instagram at by Noah Ali. That's spelled BY Noah Ali, ALY. So yeah, that's kind of where they can find me, and I'm around. You may see me out on the streets at, you know what I mean?
Right.
Kitchener's close like that.
Exactly. So people can come up and just talk to you and just chat.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. Amazing. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching, doing all of the things, and we'll be sure to catch you on the next episode. Peace. Peace.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to the OMG podcast. We hope you enjoyed today's episode and gained some valuable insights into storytelling with video, startup life, and our community impact in Kitchener-Waterloo. Don't forget to subscribe and follow us on social media to stay updated on future episodes. If you have any questions or topics you'd like us to cover, reach out to us at info@onwardmediagroup.com.